so good to be here. Eric, you are so inspiring, so thank you. And all of the Creative Morning people like Carly. Can you hear me? Oh, I need this. You guys, I haven't done a PowerPoint in like 18 years, and it took me forever. I don't even know what I do. I click that. Okay, here we go. Yes, I literally got this to Eric last night at like 8 p.m. because it took me that long. It's also been really challenging to have to talk about myself because normally I get to talk about everybody else and my community. So this has been a little bit of a challenge, but I will do it and I'm going to talk about our community. So community, number one, a group of people who live in the same place and have a particular characteristic in common. So like basically your neighbor, right? Where you live, geographic. Number two, a feeling of fellowship with others as a result of sharing common attitudes, interests, and goals. So that could be anything, anything at all. So there's me, baby Katie. I was born in Overland Park, Kansas, and yes, my legs are spread eagle because I was born with hip dysplasia and I wore braces on my legs. You cannot see them in that picture because they're under my onesie, but I had to wear those for about a year of my life, so every photo, baby Katie, I am spread eagle. And it's pretty funny, and I'm fine now, but I grew up in Prairie Village, Kansas, and I went to a mix of Catholic schools and public schools because I moved a few times. We'll get back to this later, but please note that when Owen, art class was fun, you're a cocky jerk, but I love you, je t'aime. That is from an 8th grade yearbook, and I'll talk about it later and who Owen is. So I ended up at Kansas State University in Manhattan, Kansas, and ironically, I don't know if Emily Bordner is here, but she spoke at last month's Creative Mornings, and I learned that she had an anthropology major initially, and so did I. And I don't know how we didn't know this about each other, but I wanted to be a linguistic anthropologist and go live in the jungle and like study cultures, and I didn't end up doing that. I ended up being a print journalist major with a minor in French, and I figured I could like travel around and learn about communities and cultures that way. I loved traveling. So I moved to Aix-en-Provence, France about 4 days after 9/11 happened, which was really awesome, but also pretty difficult because they did not like Americans. We went to war with Afghanistan, I think like 15 days after I arrived in France, and we pretended we were Canadian most of the time. I'm sure that's probably what people are doing there now as well, but I got to be part of a huge community in Aix-en-Provence. It's in southern France, and I got to travel all around Europe on we had like a Euro pass back then, and there was no digital stuff. This was in like 2002, so we had erasable pins that we brought from the US, and you were supposed to write in the day you got on the train to travel around, and we would erase it, and we traveled everywhere on this 3-day pass. And yes, it was a little dishonest, but it was also really smart. So I got to go to Italy, Germany, Belgium, France, Holland, oh my gosh, England. I got to go everywhere. It was so, so amazing. This is one of my all-time favorite quotes by Mark Twain, aka Samuel Clemens, and it's from Innocents Abroad. And you guys will learn I'm slightly obsessed with Twain. And it says, "Travel is fatal to bigotry, prejudice, and narrow-mindedness, and many of our people need it sorely on these accounts. Broad, wholesome, charitable views of men and things cannot be acquired by vegetating in one little corner of the earth all of one's life." So by the time I was 22, I was privileged to travel to Mexico, Jamaica, all over Western Europe, and to many states, and I loved it. I loved becoming part of new communities wherever I went. I loved learning about the culture, visiting historic cities, and meeting all the people that live there. So when I graduated from college, I applied to work at the Kansas City Star, but they said I needed to be an intern first. And we all know what that means. You do not get paid. Hey, I can be a lawyer, make some money. So I took this 7-hour test, which was probably the worst thing I've ever done in my life, and immediately booked a 3-month trip to New Zealand to travel with my friends. My friends from high school, and for some reason we got work visas. I do not know why. We probably just figured we might need to make some money there. So I spent 2 years there. I went for 3 months and I lived there for 2 years, and I actually married someone from New Zealand. New Zealand, but we are no longer married. So I worked as a rental assistant. That is me on the mountain with one of my best friends, Annie. So we were there for 3 months. Annie and I applied to elongate our work visa, and if we both got this job on the mountains, we were like, we'll stay. If neither of us got it, or if one of us got it and the other didn't, we were like, we'll go home. We both got this job, and it was amazing. So I became one of the part of the most beautiful communities I've ever been a part of, which is New Zealand. And in Maori, the word is Aotearoa, and it means long white cloud. As you can see, these are also photos from, like, I took a picture of my photos, because back then we didn't really have digital cameras. So these are printed photos. That was my camper van that we bought. So in the bottom left-hand, I actually kind of lived out of that for a little bit. I ended up then meeting my now ex-husband and moving to Auckland, New Zealand, and working for the Ministry of Economic Development. And then we got divorced. I came home and I needed a job. So I applied. Actually, I didn't apply anywhere. The law firm I had been clerking at was like, come back, be a paralegal. My LSAT score had expired by this point, so I was like, fine, I'll do it. I get a salary, I get benefits, I get a retirement plan, insurance. This is awesome. So I did it, but it was totally life, like sucking my soul out. Like it was insurance, defense, law. It was not creative. There was no community, there was no art, there was no life, there was no passion. So this is where my most important community began. So this is me and Owen. That's Owen from the 8th grade yearbook. That's me and Owen in 8th grade. That's me and Owen when we got married. So and that's Owen and Picasso at the Nelson. So I re-met Owen, thank you social media, MySpace, in 2008. We first had art class together in 1992, and he is not a cocky jerk from art class. He is a beautiful, kind, gentle soul, and he's amazing, and we fell madly in love and got married in Colorado and had our first baby, who, guess what, we named him? Oh, my print is gone, but it's Samuel. That is Samuel, and yes, for his first birthday, Microsoft painted his head on Samuel Clemens' body and put that on the invitation. I love Samuel Clemens. So, once Sammy was born, I realized, okay, I can make some art on the side because I had maternity leave, right? So I was a paralegal, but then I got 6 weeks off. So I started making jewelry, and I started making baby stuff, of course, and I started making stationery, and then I realized I can get paid to do this. My friends were like, hey, can I get some of that? And my friend Nick is here. He bought so much stuff for his wife from me. I thank you, Nick. I love you. I started an Etsy account and began selling it all, mostly to friends, but then shoppers started buying it like all over the US. And shortly thereafter, my sister introduced me to a girl named Heather Baker, who was starting an indie craft fair called the Strawberry Swing. It was not me who started it. It was Heather Baker. And she realized that we didn't have anything in the Midwest where people like me and like her could sell their stuff. So my sister was like, you gotta do this. It's like Etsy in real life. And so I did it. So guys, this is 2011, please. I know it's not very much in style now, but I made a lot of feather things for your hair. You could like clip them in, you could put them everywhere. There were earrings. I just really liked feathers, okay? So I realized like this strawberry swing thing is amazing. This is like what it's about. This is community, like being around all these creative women and some men. There were more women at first, but now there's a lot more men involved who were hustling like I was. Like we were just making all this stuff in our home at night and maybe during the day when our baby napped, and then laying it out on a table for everybody to see and hoping they loved it too. And so it was just like the most inspiring thing to see everyone else doing the same thing. And it was not mass-produced capitalism. It was good for the environment because we're not like big box stores with big rigs and planes flying around polluting the environment and like our local economy. All of these are small businesses like myself who are then going back using that money that we made at this fair and putting it right back into our community. So I'm like, this is the greatest thing ever. Ironically, when I was trying to find a picture of me with Sam, I was trying to find a picture of him like in the baby carrier and me working, but instead I found this, ironically. So this is a Facebook post from November 30th, 2011. Come see me at the Strawberry Swing. And at the bottom, you can see all the vendors are written on that flyer, and there are only 16, and I'm one of them. And I was like, oh my God, I was like at the very first Strawberry Swing, and there are only 16 vendors. And you'll see why that's a big deal in a second. So I got laid off from my paralegal job in 2012 and continued to sell and do all of this amazing craft fair stuff. And I took photos and got paid for taking photos. And then in 2013, one of the lawyers from my old firm wrote me back in and was like, can you be a paralegal again just for me, just for a little bit? You can have your own office. And I told him what salary he wanted. He said yes. And I was like, okay, I can make money. I can make money. I got to do it, but I hate it. So I did it. And then something amazing happened. Heather, who founded the Strawberry Swing, moved to Colorado and said, Katie, I cannot do this anymore. It is too far. I can't come back. I'm going to end it. I'm going to end it. And I was like, you're going to end the Strawberry Swing? But it's so fun. You can't end it. And she said, only you can take it over. So if you will take it over and I will give it all to you and you become the owner, I believe in you, you can make this dream come true. Will you do it? And I was like, what would Twain do? WWMTD. What would he do? And this, I literally thought about this quote. 20 years from now, you will be more disappointed by the things that you didn't do than by the ones you did. So throw off your bowline, sail away from the safe harbor, catch the trade winds in your sails, explore, dream, and discover. I ended up putting my all into the swing, so much so that I got fired from the paralegal job. Whoops. But it was a good firing. They were like, we understand, like, you can't be working on this at your computer at work, but like, we're not, if you need like a reference, we're not gonna be mad. We're gonna be like, she's amazing. She started her own business. So I put my all into it, and it was so worth it because in November 2014, just 7 months after I became the owner and curator, I basically made Heather Baker's dream come true. We were on the top list of the 35 indie craft fairs every creative person needs to visit in the world. And I do not know who Mabry McGinnis, this writer, is, but I love her. I mean, I feel like I need to, I mean, people still hit my website from this article, which was written in 2014, like daily, because you can see, you know, on WordPress who goes, blah, blah, blah. So this was amazing. And we were lucky number 13. And all of you people who do the swing in this audience know that it pretty much rains at every swing, and we blame that on good luck and being number 13 on this list. So the swing would not be what it is, though, without the maker community. And many of you are here today. I mean, like, literally, it is only what it is because of everyone that comes, everyone that takes a part of it. This community, when you come, you just are happy. You can't not be happy. You get to become friends with some of these makers. You get to meet a mentor. You maybe become someone's mentor. And it's so inspiring to watch people. Like, one of my friends, Kate, I think you guys know Kate Schrader, she started making coffee mugs, and it might be in one of these pictures. Yes, down at the bottom. She started making these coffee mugs, and then she went from Braille jewelry, where she has like amazing naughty words and good words in Braille. And then she started making these cactus cups, and like she literally puts a picture on Instagram, and it sold. And she finally is like, oh my God, this is my job. I'm an artist. I do not have to like do my day job anymore because I'm an artist. This is what I do. I get paid. And it is the best feeling ever to watch that, and I see that almost every day. So this is what all led me to, oh, and that is the holiday swing last year. So it went from 16 people on that little flyer on my Facebook post to, we think 15,000 people came. There were 125 makers lining Union Station's Grand Hall. And you can just see how fun, everyone just like so happy. Those people in the middle, the little kids, I have a little entrepreneur program that I put as part of it where little kids can come and sell and learn how to be an entrepreneur. So that's what that is. Okay, so this is what led me to Truce Market Collective, the community that we can make a living doing this. You can make a living doing what you love. Everyone deserves this opportunity. And together as a community, we can grow and blossom and inspire. But you guys, this has been really hard. It's all flowers and bubbles, but I'm not gonna lie, it's been really hard. I'm a mom and a wife running this business out of my home. And then it got a little bit harder when this amazing ray of sunshine came into my life, and his name is Teddy. So I now have Owen, Samuel, and Teddy. So not only did reality TV star Donald J. Trump become our president in late 2016, we had a baby. We named him Teddy. Our cat Charlie died, and I formed a nonprofit with a complete stranger. It was probably the craziest couple of months of my life. And this is ironic. This is my community helping me last night. This is last night. I don't know if you can see me sitting, typing my speech that I'm giving you guys right now, but my friend Megan had to come over and wrangle these hooligans while I am working on this speech last night, because she's just a part of my community, one of my pieces of all my communities that I love. So back to Truce Market Collective. So In October 2016, a woman who was a stranger but would soon become an integral part of my community contacted me via the Swing website and sent me an email saying she has an idea. She really needs to talk to me on the phone. And I'm like, can you please email me this idea? And she's like, no, it has to be on the phone. And I'm like, okay. Okay, here we go again. I'm gonna insert the Mark Twain quote. About 20 years from now, I will be more disappointed in things I didn't do. So I met with this woman, Chrissy, my new partner in the Truce Market Collective. She lived behind the historic block on Truce, which is 31st and Truce. It's in between Linwood and 31st, and it had been divested for the last 30 plus years. And Chrissy saw beauty and promise here for local small businesses. And so together, we came up with this idea for this nonprofit, the Truce Market Collective. And this is our goal, and it's almost there. We are, you'll see. We want this nonprofit to create multiple maker spaces that would provide shared equipment. So we will purchase the equipment because a lot of time artists don't have access to equipment once they graduate from art school. Once they graduate from art school, they don't have the big industrial serger that they were using, and that's $2,000. So if we can come together and buy all this equipment, another big part of this, which was basically one of the biggest reasons I said yes to this was we would be able to provide scholarships or like residencies for people who couldn't afford it. So bringing in low income, medium income, high income, east, west of Truce together, and like lifting that barrier for people to create and become entrepreneurs. And in doing so, we're just hoping that we can get the stereotype away from Truce. So I'll talk a tiny bit about the past of Truce, because a lot of you may not know, and I didn't know all about it until I started going to social, reading books, going to racial justice, social gatherings and stuff. So some books, if you want to learn more about this, is The Color of Law. And then there's another book called Some of My Best Friends Are Black that has an entire chapter on just Kansas City. But I'm going to briefly discuss like 3,000 years of history. So in the 1700s, this block of 31st and Truce, you can see the Osage Indian. It was the Osage Indian tribe. In 1830, it was sold to the United States. Then a man named Benoist Troost came. He was the first doctor in Kansas City, hence Troost. And Troost is a Dutch word, and it means comfort, ironically. About 1832 to 1865, a man named Reverend James Porter had a plantation on this acreage, and he had about 40 to 100 slaves. And then in 1834, Troost Avenue development begins near 31st Street and continues to develop into the 1900s, bringing like movie theaters, apartments, retail stores, and more. In 1865, the plantation became Millionaire's Row, where Reverend Porter was selling mansions to well-off families. And that ISIS theater, that is one of the theaters that was there. It was thriving on this block in between the 20s and 50s. And immigrants were setting up businesses, Jewish people, Greek people, Irish people, African-American people, everyone, entrepreneurs everywhere. Walt Disney has his Laugh-O-Gram studio on this block. I don't know if you guys know that, but it is there and it's going to become a museum. And then in the 1950s, there was a man you guys may be familiar with called J.C. Nichols. And what he did was orchestrated a white flight here in Kansas City. So from east side of his developments to west of Truce, he induced like a panic selling and blockbusting thing. He also put restricted covenants in all deeds for houses that Jewish or African-American people could not buy these homes. And so what once was this thriving area, became divested. So in 1948, the Supreme Court made those restricted covenants basically illegal, but people still did it and didn't take them out. 1954, Brown versus the Board of Education. I think you guys all know what that is. It desegregated schools. In 55, the all-white KCMO school board manipulated attendance boundaries to get around this desegregation, and they manipulated them so that white schools would be separated from black schools, and Truce was the obvious border. Then in from 55 to 68 was the civil rights movement. Martin Luther King got assassinated, and that photo is from Kansas City during the race riots. And there was burning buildings. People were obviously very angry, as they should have been. And so after that, pretty much a little bit of urban redevelopment began from 68 to 85, but then it was totally divested, and there was really nothing. So basically, historic inaction and intentional divestment benefited others. So white real estate agents like J.C. Nichols impacted all these businesses on the Truce corridor. Like, it led us to where we are today. And I feel like as a privileged white woman in Kansas City that I am called to action, and why I listened to my now partner and community member, Chrissy, when she said we could do something here. But it was hard because who am I, like this white woman who doesn't have a worry that I'm gonna be harassed when I'm driving down Truce or pulled over and possibly shot or not get my law firm job because of the color of my skin. Like I don't have to worry about that and other people do. So I realized like I really have to be intentional in my involvement on Truce. And in this historic corridor, we have to offer useful demands to help entrepreneurs. You know, we have to have small businesses, we have to have jobs. We can't just have only makers. We have to bring back the glory days of Truce where immigrant families open up businesses all up and down Truce. How can we bring that back? How can we make it a thriving economy, at least on our block in between 31st and Linwood? So we partnered, formed this nonprofit. Our owners of the buildings, there's 30 years of neglect in these buildings, you guys. And they got boarded up. The entire west side of the block got boarded up. These are like historic buildings. We have the original Hellsberg Diamond building, the original Firestone Auto building. Over the years, people have done drop ceilings with like styrofoam and we break them down and there's amazing subway tin tile and it's gonna take millions. So while we're rehabbing these and gaining funds to do this, I thought, how can we bring the community together? How can we do it now? How can we show everybody that we are here for them and we wanna be together? And so I thought, street art. Street art is one of the most important forms of protest and letting voices be heard. So I curated the community mural project with people I met on the street from being on Truce, and also I connect some local artists who maybe had a tie to Truce or you know, had a vision for Truce, and asked everyone, what is your vision for the past history or the past future of Truce? What do you see? What do you want to see? All of this. So in comes our community mural project. And I think I know how to do this. Let's try this. So these are all the muralists, and my friend Jerry, he painted the whole wall with latex paint so that everyone could spray paint on top of it. I met him on the street. He's amazing. He's one of my closest friends now. All of these people are just an incredible community that is already in this neighborhood. And now, like that is my friend Tone. He had never done a mural in his life. He's now done 5 since because he put his phone number on that one. He's been paid to do 5 murals. That's JT Daniels, he's amazing. And those 2 murals we actually moved inside of Thelma's kitchen across the street. If you guys need to go eat lunch, please go to 31st and Truce inside Reconciliation Services. They have a pay what you can cafe that is fabulous. And 2 of our murals got moved in there. Thelma, that was Thelma. She was like an angel on Truce. Everyone loved her. She was like the mother of all Truce. And each one of these murals actually has a little plaque on it. If you go down the street, you can read about what each one means, and they are incredible. And I would have to talk forever if I talked about them. So this was one of the like most amazing things I've ever done in my life. Just being out on the street, working with the community, hearing them, hearing what they have to say, hearing what they want on Truce. Most people want food, but you hear like we're a food desert, but they don't want like a grocery store. They want to be able to go in and get some hot food. And the only thing on this block right now is a dollar store and 2 nonprofits, and now Thelma's Kitchen. So these are just some, oh my gosh, you guys, that's John Rao. You guys, he painted those figures black and then it carved with like a tiny Dremel or something, the wood out from underneath. It is incredible. That's the Osage leader with our Missouri State Board. This is just the process of it. That's our friend Abby, who just did that one. There's our friend Carly, who is here and part of Creative Mornings. We did this mural with her, and we got some of the kiddos from Operation Breakthrough, which is across the street from us, to come and help us. So that one's there, go see it. That's them inside of Thelma's now. That's me in the bottom walking with Teddy and Mary. Mary's one of my good friends I've now met on Truce. She is awesome. This is us all watching. They just raised a bridge over Truce. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but Operation Breakthrough is gonna have a maker space leading their kiddos onto the other side of the street. And this is Psych, our friend that's here. The future ain't what it used to be. So that's a Yogi Berra quote, and we thought this was just a perfect mural to have on Truce, because the future is hopefully going to be different, and it's going to be good, and it's going to be good for everybody, we hope. So through my life, I've come to define myself from these communities I've been allowed to become a member of, like you guys, and I hope to make a new community here where there's no longer a dividing line on Truce. And you know, you hear a lot of people say you're going to push it further east. Well, we don't want to do that. We want to abolish it altogether. So hopefully you guys will all get out of your comfort zones and join us and learn about these communities. And please, if you don't remember anything I said today, remember that everyone deserves this opportunity. And together as a community, we can grow and blossom. And I will leave you with this little thing I did with Abby Yam. So. Sorry, it's a little shaky. I did it myself. Thank you guys so much.